Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Eden. And this is Ron Howard's latest film, the psychological thriller. This period piece focuses based on factual account of a group of outsiders who settle on a remote island only to discover their greatest threat isn't the brutal climate or the deadly wildlife, but each other. Of course it is. That comes without saying. But this story focuses on Ritter, played by Jude Law, who is this philosopher, this professor, this doctor who has this idea of coming to this place, and he is going to discover the ideas that's going to save the world from fascism and all of these things. He's there with his wife, played by Vanessa Kirby, but then once Sydney Sweeney and Daniel Bruhl's characters show up on this remote island, it changes everything. And they're there to settle and build a life and experiment and explore. And then Ana de Armas's character, who is this baroness who has all the money she could ever imagine and wants to turn this remote island into the big resort. There's conflict for sure, and that's how this all comes together. And this film, I think Howard does a really fine job from a filmmaking standpoint, because this film has grit. It has a visual palette that's very distinct and interesting. Matthias Herndl, who is a cinematographer of this film, really finds some engaging and interesting shots that are dynamic and engrossing. It plays around with focus to deliver some impactful sequences. Hans Zimmer does the score for this, and you can feel the Hans Zimmer of it. There's just so much power in the score that brings so much tension to each of these scenes. And that's important because this is a 2-hour, 9-minute film, and it really needs that energy to keep propelling it forward for the audience. I think the biggest issue is Howard really struggles with consistently keeping the audience engaged for this whole 2-hour, 9 minutes. This easily could have been trimmed down and leaned out and still had the same kind of impact. And I think the biggest negative of the film is from Noah Pink's script that, this feels so repetitive after a while. There's only so much conflict and this and that and playing with each other and tricking each other you can possibly do and continue to engage your audience from start to finish. And I think this film has diminishing returns in that manner. And by the end, this just felt like such an overlong experience to get from here to here. Now, this film is filled with really interesting and engaging conflicts and particular scenes, and these characters have their different motivations, their own complexities, their own struggles, and there's enough of that to overcome some of the less interesting and engaging sequences in the film, this runtime that you can really feel, unfortunately. But the filmmaking really works, and so's the performers. Jude Law is such a bastard in this movie and just really captures this energy that makes him so hateable, and his conflict with all these different characters. Vanessa Kirby has to sell a lot physically because her character has a lot of ailments, but she has to sell this dynamic with Jude Law's character, and they have great chemistry on screen together. I think Sydney Sweeney does a really fine job as the moral compass, really, of the story. I don't think Daniel Bruhl is particularly challenged in this film like some of his other films, but he always brings a quality of performance to whatever he does. Ana de Armas is really playing this up, and I think I really haven't seen her be this, morally gray and big energy and just this larger-than-life character. And it's interesting seeing that side of her, and I think it works pretty well for the story. I just feel like there's whole characters here that just feel completely just, what are you even doing here? I did appreciate there's a appearance of Richard Roxburgh as a particular character who comes into the fray and complicates things even more. I think the biggest thing is it feels repetitive, and how much of this can you really buy into and really engage with after a while? And I do feel like the filmmaking and the cast elevate this beyond being hard to sit through and at least make it a solid enough experience with some compelling ideas and challenges along the way that can engage you and confront you and put you as the audience in an uncomfortable situation. But I do feel like Eden has its merits. It just falters a lot in trying to craft a film that's going to engage you and not feel like we're getting a lot of the same along the way. But those are my thoughts on Eden. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.